Good evening, I'm Kyle Clark.
And I'm Kim Christensen. Some elementary school students in Castle Rock say they were abandoned by their substitute bus driver.
They say this guy just blew past all their bus stops, then dropped them all off in one place. 9 News reporter Lauren Scafidi is at that spot tonight. Lauren, the parents are livid.
Yeah, and understandably so. The kids say that they were crying when this substitute bus driver made all 40 of them get off at this random intersection miles away from their house in the dark and in the cold. Really scary stuff there. Most of them too young to have a cell phone to get in touch with their parents. Just leaving Clear Sky Elementary School Monday afternoon gave kids a bad gut feeling.
We got on the bus and there was a substitute and he wouldn't let us leave the school until we stopped talking.
Getting out of the parking lot would be the least of these sisters' worries. Caitlin on the left and Kira on the right.
I'm 7, she's 10. So he finally left and he was skipping all the kids' stop. And when I mean all the kids, I mean all the kids. And we felt like when he was driving and missing our stops, like we were getting kidnapped.
The kids say their bus driver ended up 2 miles away from the school at the corner of Wolfensberger and Auburn with a bus full of about 40 kids.
He stopped right here at this intersection, like right here, and he said, "Everybody get off my bus."
They say it was around 5 o'clock.
And then everybody was like stressing, like crying.
Getting dark and cold.
And we forgot our jackets on the bus because out of stress. Yeah, we were shivering. Me and my little sister, we live like 2 miles away from here. So we had like no idea what to do.
A stranger offered the girls a ride and helped the girls call their mom, Ashley Stark.
I was absolutely petrified. And for a stranger to call me and tell me that she had my children in the car and they were crying and screaming and bright red and frozen.
She says it's not something she can just let go.
This wasn't an honest mistake or a slip up. There was a lot of different ways that this driver could have handled this.
Caitlin and Kira's new ride to school.
You're looking at her.
And other parents will not stop until they get to the bottom of what happened on the bus.
It was super, super scary.
It's just unfathomable, and I think that there definitely needs to be some accountability on the side of the Department of Transportation.
That driver is on leave as Doug Coast Schools investigates what happened there. They're doing an internal investigation. They are in contact with all of the families of the 40 students there, and they say that this is concerning as safety is their top priority. Live in Castle Rock, Lauren Scafidi, 9 News.
Mountain snow created some problems on I-70 today. A jackknife semi shut down the interstate just west of the Eisenhower Tunnel. Things are looking a lot better tonight. Let's get to Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin. There's wind around here.
Oh, it was something today, Kim, and it made it feel even colder than that Fahrenheit temperature of 40. That wind chill was in the 20s today, and the wind created areas of blowing snow. Thankfully, some improvement. We're able to look live at the Johnson-Eisenhower Tunnel, and the roads have been plowed. Things seem to be a little bit better in terms of visibility, but there's more mountain snow coming. And while the wind will ease in Denver overnight, it will continue over the foothills. Temperatures are already in the 20s, so some of you will see lows tonight in the teens and single digits. And that's a big swing from where we were this time last night, about a 10 to 20 degree temperature swing with the arrival of that storm from the northwest. Still very gusty over Dumont and Loveland Pass. The winds along the Front Range coming down. The last of the moisture scooting through the eastern plains. There's one center of circulation in the Midwest, another one offshore from the Pacific Northwest. So an active weather pattern, a pattern that will bring another round of snow to the mountains just in time for the Thanksgiving holiday. Coming up, we'll have the timing and impact of that just ahead.
A former Larimer County prosecutor recently pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting a 16-year-old student when she was an intern in his office back in 1999. Daniel Quinn was sentenced this week to 4 years of supervised probation, at least 1 year of treatment, and he must register as a sex offender. 9 News Northern News and reporter Amanda Gilbert was at the Larimer County Courthouse for his sentencing.
And the survivor told her about the decision to come forward decades later.
The victim in this case does not want to be identified, so you won't hear her name or see her face, but she did speak in court yesterday along with her friends.
It was inside these windows where a 16-year-old Fort Collins High School sophomore worked in the late 90s.
I was in the file room primarily making copies for the attorneys or staff.
She was excited for an internship opportunity at the district attorney's office.
I had known from a young age that I wanted to be an attorney.
That excitement grew when Daniel Quinn, the Larimer County Chief Deputy District Attorney at the time, noticed her.
At first I was flattered because I had somebody who held so much power and had the job that I wanted, who was paying attention to me.
Reports say Quinn took her to lunch, took her to the Rock by Horsetooth Reservoir, and called her beautiful.
We met up outside of the office and the inappropriate sexual contact occurred. Once that happened, the inappropriate contact continued to occur while I was in the office.
When the school found out and notified the DA's office, the victim said this led to Mr. Quinn resigning and her firing.
It was never reported to the police. It was never reported to the State Bar Association. There were very little consequences. And so I was very confused as a 16 and 17-year-old as to maybe the conduct was appropriate.
The victim says this has impacted her for 25 years.
I just had this burden. I had a 16-year-old inside of me that kept saying, we have to keep this secret.
This week, during Quinn's sentencing hearing, his defense said he cared for the victim.
They were the center of each other's universe.
But as I said before, it was tainted from the very beginning.
Still, this former intern says she feels his sentencing is a slap on the wrist.
To think about the fact that he's not going to have to be in jail and that he can get this off of his record is disgusting to me.
But she wants her story to encourage other victims to speak up.
Don't feel like you need to keep secrets. Ultimately, there is a support group.
For her, this week's a new start, and she thanks the judge for saying there was one victim in this case. In Fort Collins, Amanda Gilbert, 9 News.
A candlelight vigil was held tonight outside of Club Q, where a shooter opened fire inside the LGBTQ club in Colorado Springs 2 years ago tonight. 5 people were killed: Ashley Paugh, Daniel Aston, Derek Rump, Kelly Loving, and Raymond Vance. 17 others were hurt. 2 federal lawsuits filed this week accuse the club's operators and El Paso County leaders of not doing enough to prevent that shooting. They blamed the owners for not having better security and the sheriff and county commissioners for not using Colorado's red flag law to seize the shooter's guns. That law allows family members, teachers, medical or mental health workers, or law enforcement to petition to have someone's guns taken if there is a danger, but there's no requirement that they act.
In Colorado, the majority of petitions, as with other states, are filed by law enforcement officers.
The shooter had been arrested a year earlier for threatening their grandparents and vowing to become the next mass killer. Charges were dropped after witnesses didn't cooperate, and the sheriff's office said they had no facts to refer to for a red flag petition because the case had been sealed.
Governor Jared Polis is doubling down on his effusive praise of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s nomination for health secretary, despite criticism from fellow Democrats over RFK Jr.'s false and anti-science views. RFK Jr. has claimed, despite evidence, that vaccines are linked to autism. He has said that Wi-Fi causes cancer, and he has suggested that COVID was genetically engineered to spare Jewish people, but to harm blacks and whites. Governor Polis told us today that he hopes that RFK won't turn his conspiracy theories into health policy, but will instead focus on nutrition, wellness, and reining in drug companies.
RFK, not a pharmaceutical lobbyist, as you indicated, has a lot of false things that he has said and does say. Can he separate those incorrect personal beliefs from the work he does on chronic disease, nutrition, and taking on big pharma? I hope so, and for the sake of our country, I pray so.
Colorado has an application with the FDA to import cheaper prescription drugs from Canada. It's been sitting with the FDA for a year now. The governor says he's hopeful with RFK leading the agency, that application will be approved. Street signs, the literal rules of the road, right? They're designed to be lifesavers, but sometimes they just kind of, can go by like wallpaper. You don't even really notice them.
Not the new ones in Boulder.
Not so much.
Not so much, 9 News reporter Janelle Finch is in Boulder with more.
Yeah, there is no missing these. We know of at least 5 signs put up around the city, not by the transportation department, but by what some might consider a safety vigilante. These signs tell drivers to get off their phones or slow down. The message is simple. The delivery a bit vulgar. The signs use colorful language. Some of it we're not legally allowed to put on TV. Amusing? Yes. Legal? No.
I'm guessing that it's a concerned citizen that is kind of fed up with some of the behavior they're seeing in their neighborhoods or in other neighborhoods. So, I definitely appreciate the gesture behind, I think, what they were intending to do. But, like we said, it is a crime. And, there's definitely other means that people could take to try to let us know of these behaviors.
The city has already taken down some of these signs, and police are investigating these as criminal tampering. Live in Boulder, Janelle Finch, 9 News.
Well, that's one approach.
I'm thinking that some people notice him, though. You have to stop, and maybe a few photos are snapped, I'm guessing, Janelle, of these signs.
Yeah, it kind of makes it a little counterintuitive by putting these signs up, you might think. But yeah, the city is doing their part at getting these down.
Okay.
All right. Janelle Finch, thank you.